The 1982 FIFA World Cup is considered one of the greatest in history, a tournament where Paolo Rossi completed an incredible redemption as Italian football recovered from disaster to become world champions. It is also the story of a Brazilian team that played some of the most sublime football ever seen, but ended in heartbreak. But why was Italian football in crisis? How did they become champions? How did this tournament change Brazilian football forever? This is the story of the 1982 FIFA World Cup. We need to go back to the 1980 Totonero match-fixing scandal to understand why so little was expected of Italy. Italian football was rocked to the core, as 27 players across 13 clubs were accused of fixing matches across Serie B and Serie A. Rossi was also implicated. He was found guilty and banned from football for 3 years. On appeal, it was reduced to 2 as he maintained his innocence. From the start of the 1980 season until the 1982 tournament, Rossi played just 3 club games and scored 1 goal. Despite this, Italian manager 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐷 still selected Rossi for the World Cup. Italian journalists and fans criticised the decision, as Rossi looked out of shape. Rossi would later say about the end of his ban, "It was as though I was starting afresh with a new life." Before moving on to the main tournament, I would appreciate you hitting the like, subscribe and notification bell. My next video will be on Maradona and the 1986 World Cup in 2 weeks. Thank you for your support, I truly appreciate the growth in the channel. The World Cup was hosted in Spain and was played between the 13th of June and the 11th of July. Italy was drawn in a group with Poland, Cameroon and Peru. The complaints of the media and fans seemed justified as both Italy and Rossi struggled. In their opening game against Poland, Italy struggled to create chances as the match ended goalless. Italy fared a little better against Peru. They started the better and were rewarded when Bruno Conti turned beautifully before firing into the top corner from 25 yards out. Rossi, however, continued to be largely absent. He later recalled, "It was hard even to do easy things. At the end of the first half against Peru, when I got substituted, I felt I was totally lacking." Peru played well in the second half and earned a 1-1 draw after Ruben Diaz scored a deflected shot in the 83rd minute. Incredibly, all the games had been drawn after 2 rounds of games. This meant all 4 sides were level with 2 points each. Unfortunately, the final round of games was not played simultaneously. Poland played Peru the day before and won 5-1. They were certain to go through and had a 4-goal advantage over Italy. Italy was ahead of Cameroon due to goals scored. The game would be lackluster as both failed to create many chances. Francesco Graziani would give Italy the lead after a fine header into the far corner in the 60th minute. Amazingly, Cameroon scored a few seconds after kicking off. Grégoire Mbida scored from close range after Italy failed to clear the ball. Italy managed to hold, and the game ended 1-1. Italy progressed into the second group stage, but their performances were heavily criticised. Rossi was especially critiqued as the media described his performances as a ghost aimlessly wandering over the field. Italy had drawn all 3 games and only scored 2 goals. Brazil had no such struggles. They had assembled a fantastic team that played free-flowing attacking football, much like the teams between 1958 and 1970. Brazil had a midfield brimming with creative talent. Toninho Cerezo and Paulo Falcao were deep-lying playmakers who sat behind attacking midfielders Sócrates and 𝐿𝐵𝐾𝐿. Sócrates was known for his elegance and stylish play. He had a medical degree and strong political awareness, which led him to being dubbed Dr. Socrates. 𝐿𝐵𝐾𝐿 was the best Brazilian player of this generation. He was a creative playmaker with fantastic technical skills and a clinical finisher. He was often called the White Pele. Brazil was drawn into a group with the Soviet Union, Scotland and New Zealand. Against the Soviets, Brazil started strongly and dominated the ball, but they fell behind after 34 minutes due to a terrible goalkeeping mistake from Valdir Pérez, who failed to save a long-range effort from André Bal. In the second half, Brazil continued to apply pressure and were finally rewarded when Sócrates picked up the ball and fired it into the top left corner from 25 yards out. Brazil sealed a 2-1 win in the 88th minute. 𝐸𝐻𝐸𝐻𝐸, known simply as 𝐸𝐻𝐸, scored a sumptuous goal. He received the ball 25 yards out, and with his first touch, he chipped the ball up for himself before volleying into the back of the net. In their second game, Brazil faced Scotland. Despite Brazil starting well and dominating the ball, Scotland scored first. David Nery scored with a thunderous shot from the edge of the box. In the 33rd minute, Brazil were awarded a free kick almost 30 yards out. 𝐿𝐵𝐿, widely considered one of the greatest free kick takers of all time, stepped up and curled the ball beautifully into the far corner. Brazil was at their best in the second half and swatted Scotland aside. In the 48th minute, José Oscar scored from a header to give Brazil the lead. In the 63rd minute, 𝐸𝐸 added another wonderful goal to his collection. He drove into the left side of the box and with a deft touch chipped the ball into the far corner. Falcao sealed a 4-1 win in the 87th minute with a shot from over 20 yards. Brazil's final game was against New Zealand. As expected, they continued their splendid football and dominated. In the 28th minute, 𝐿𝐵𝐿 met a cross with a wonderful bicycle kick to give Brazil the lead. Brazil seemed to be on a mission to score nothing but beautiful goals. 𝐿𝐵𝐿 added another to the collection in the 31st minute. He fired low into the bottom corner after a lovely sequence of passes from the Brazilians. In the second half, Brazil continued their procession. In the 64th minute, Falcao fired the ball into the near post to make it 3-0. 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐿 completed the rout in the 70th minute as Brazil won 4-0. In just 3 games, they had scored 10 goals, but it was not just the number of goals, but the manner of them which made them red-hot favourites to win. Almost all their goals had been moments of individual or team brilliance. However, they had shown defensive frailties and had fallen behind in 2 of the games. This World Cup was the 3rd and final time a second group stage was used. Brazil as group winners were drawn with 2 runners-up, Italy and Argentina. Argentina had ended up second after surprisingly losing 1-0 to group winners Belgium. British newspaper The Guardian would later describe this group as an unprecedented clash of the titans. Only the group winner would progress into the semi-finals. Italy faced Argentina in the opening game. Italy was expected to finish bottom due to their underwhelming performances. Argentina featured a young Diego Maradona. Argentina spent most of the game applying pressure. Italy coach Bearzot identified Maradona as the key player and assigned Claudio Gentile to man-mark him. Gentile did this in a physical and often violent manner. He would go on to foul Maradona 23 times in the game. Maradona was stifled out of the game. Italy converted 2 of their chances in the second half. Tardelli and Cabrini were the scorers. Passarella got a late goal, but it was not enough. Italy won their first game of the tournament. The second game of the group saw eternal rivals Brazil and Argentina face off. Brazil got off to a faster start and scored a goal after just 11 minutes. 𝐿𝐵𝐿 tapped the ball in after a thunderous free kick hit the bar. Brazil remained on top for most of the game as the Argentinians grew frustrated. 𝐬𝐵𝐿 would make it 2-0 with a free header after a fine move from Brazil. Junior made it 3-0 after 𝐿𝐵𝐿 put him through on goal with a lovely pass. Maradona's frustration would finally explode. As he jumped to challenge the ball, he delivered a vicious kick to the midsection of Brazilian sub Batista and got sent off. Argentina scored a late goal, but Brazil won 3-1 and Argentina were out. The final game saw Brazil's attacking flair versus Italy's resolute physical defence. Brazil was top of the group due to having a better goal difference. Italy had to win. What followed in Barcelona on the 5th of July is considered one of the greatest matches in World Cup history. After just 5 minutes, Rossi finally repaid the faith Bearzot had shown in him. He scored from a free header after running onto a cross. Brazil had once again fallen behind. The rest of the game would be played around the Italian box as Brazil dominated possession as expected. Gentile was given the task of man-marking 𝐿𝐵𝐿. But just a couple of minutes later, 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐿 would miss a golden chance as he fluffed his shot badly when clean through on goal. In the 12th minute, 𝐿𝐵𝐿 would play Socrates through on goal, who equalised from an acute angle. Brazil looked confident in attack, but once again a defensive mistake cost them. In the 25th minute, Rossi intercepted a pass from 𝐸𝐿 and went through on goal, and he finished emphatically, giving Italy the lead. Brazil launched numerous attacks in the second half, but Italy looked dangerous on the break. Rossi almost made it 3-1, but missed from close range. In the 68th minute, Brazil finally equalised. Falcao scored with a brilliant strike into the far corner from 20 yards out. Just 6 minutes later, Brazil made another defensive mistake. They failed to clear a corner, and as the ball came back into the box, a wide-open Rossi fired it in from close range. He would have been offside, but 𝐬𝐮𝐬 was ball-watching on the line. Rossi had a hat-trick. Italy scored another goal in the 86th minute, but was wrongly disallowed for offside. Oscar had a free header in the dying minutes, but Dino Zoff made an incredible save. Italy held on for a 3-2 win. They were in the semi-finals and Brazil were out. The defeat would have huge ramifications for Brazilian football. The national team was never as free-flowing again, and instead became more pragmatic like the Europeans. Journalist Tim Vickery would later say, the physical development of the game, it was thought, meant that traditional methods had to be revised. Brazilian players had to bulk up. Socrates infamously said, "We had a hell of a team and played with happiness." Then Rossi had 3 touches and scored a hat-trick. Football as we know it died on that day. In the semi-finals, Italy played Poland again. The game was different this time, as Italy was brimming with confidence. Rossi opened the scoring after 22 minutes with a tap-in after a cross from a free kick. Poland had their chances and came closest from a 𝐾𝐨𝐧'𝐭 free kick that hit the post. But Rossi scored another header to seal a 2-0 win in the 73rd minute. Italy was in the final. I must discuss the other semi-final between France and West Germany. Both teams played a legendary match known as the Night of Seville. Germany scored after 17 minutes through Pierre Littbarski, who shot first time from 18 yards. Platini equalised after 27 minutes by converting a penalty. During the second half, one of the worst fouls ever was committed. Patrick Battiston was through on goal, and German keeper Harald Schumacher ran out to meet him. Battiston got the first touch and lobbed the ball wide of the net. Schumacher threw himself at Battiston back first and collided with him in mid-air. Battiston suffered severe injuries, which included being unconscious, losing teeth, broken ribs and damaged vertebrae. Incredibly, no foul was given, and Germany was awarded a goal kick. The game went into extra time. In the second minute, Marius Tresor scored a volley from 12 yards out to give France the lead. They scored again in the 98th minute after Alain Giresse fired a shot off the post from 18 yards out. France was up 3-1. France continued to attack, which gave Germany chances to counter. Rummenigge scored a volley from 6 yards out, and 3 minutes into the second half of extra time, the Germans made it 3-3. Klaus Fischer scored a bicycle kick. Germany would win the penalty shootout 5-4 and progress into the final. The final was played on the 11th of July at the Santiago Bernabeu. Germany was seen as the villain. The crowd booed them as their names were announced. The Schumacher foul had cemented their role as the antagonist. But they had become unpopular in the group stage by participating in the disgrace of 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐿. Germany played Austria in the final group match, knowing a win by 1 or 2 goals for Germany meant they and Austria would progress at the expense of Algeria. Germany scored early, and the second half turned into a procession as both teams settled for a Germany win. This match led to future World Cups scheduling the final games of groups simultaneously. The first half was mostly cagey and cautious, as neither team looked to take chances. There was one golden chance for Italy as they were awarded a penalty. Antonio Cabrini fired it wide. The second half became more open, and Rossi scored in the 57th minute. He met a Gentile cross and headed from close range. In the 69th minute, Marco Tardelli produced a magic moment to make it 2-0. He received the ball on the edge of the box and fired a sliding shot into the bottom corner. In an iconic moment, he burst into tears and ran with his arms out wide, screaming in celebration. He later described, "After I scored, my whole life passed before me. The same feeling they say you have when you're about to die." Germany attacked desperately, and Italy exploited it in the 81st minute with a counter-attack. Alessandro Altobelli scored with a low left-footed shot to make it 3-0 for Italy. Breitner scored for Germany to make it 3-1, but it was too late. Italy were world champions for the third time. Rossi had completed his redemption. He later recalled, "Life changes in 1 week, in the blink of an eye. From a washout, which I was before, I became a phenomenon." Notable stats include 146 goals scored in 52 games, averaging 2.81 per match. France top scored with 16 goals in 7 games. Rossi top scored with 6 goals. Rossi won the Golden Ball. Rossi, 𝐿𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐿 62 and 𝐶𝐵 78 are the only players to win these awards and the World Cup in one tournament. That was the story of the 1982 World Cup. My next video will be on the 1986 edition in 2 weeks. So, if you want to learn more, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching.